Promise me you'd never forget what really happened.
Mirrors have always freaked me out. One of the things I find fascinating about them is that every reflection that we encounter is distorted in its own thousands of little ways, but we assume it's reality.
When I was a kid, my parents had this intricate mirror, and the thing scared the hell out of me. I never liked looking at it. It was tilted slightly downward, which for a 5 or 6 year old, you're looking at the thing thinking, my God, it sees me.
I thought I told you not to play around in here.
There's a really fascinating tradition in the Jewish faith where they'll cover a mirror at a funeral to prevent the spirit of the deceased from coming back into the world. Add to it this characteristic of being a portal or a gateway or a door. I think that's really unsettling. And so all of those kind of came together really quickly. How is it that we can use a mirror to distort reality around a character, and in doing so, distort reality around a viewer?
Action.
Oculus began as a short film that was a marriage of wanting to make a horror film and having no resources. I'd been working in Los Angeles as a freelance editor. I really had wanted to get back out there and try to make something that would be a calling card.
I'll begin by detailing my precautions before I uncover the glass.
The biggest things about working on that short that ended up being helpful for the feature were first the logistical difficulties of filming in a room in a small space with a reflective surface. We went with a suspended lighting rig that was really just exposed bulbs, and we limited the crew significantly. I think we had about 6 people on that project.
You couldn't beat me when I was a kid, and you can't beat me now!
Having to negotiate that space ended up paying off in a big way with the feature. We were still a relatively low-budget film, and we knew that, like the short, we wouldn't have somebody come in and save us digitally with the reflection.
The script is really intricate, and it requires a command not only as a writer, but also anticipating, directing, and editing the movie.
Action.
There were elements of the short that we knew were going to carry over, which was the claustrophobic nature of the room with the mirror in it. We didn't want to give that up because one of the things people responded to so much about the short was that they started to feel trapped by it.
Ready?
Yeah.
That was the one room that we built instead of shooting at an actual location. And that let us have wild walls so that we could move the crew around and get more dynamic images of the mirror. The mirror itself was always going to be the most complicated and challenging character to pull off in this movie. It is an inanimate object, it just hangs on a wall. So making sure that that mirror was not just going to be a prop was always tough. And one of the things that was really exciting for me was that because this was a movie monster that you could pick up and take to a completely different place, and it opened up the mythology to just kind of endless possibilities.
This object is responsible for at least 45 deaths in the 4 centuries of its recorded existence.
Being able to kind of trace it through history and move it around to different countries and have pockets where no one knew where it was, where there are stories that are just lost to time, victims who will never know. That stuff was just delicious from a writing point of view.
Philip Lazar was found at their ground fireplace, burned beyond recognition.
The idea was that the way the mirror would interact with someone should be as specific and individual as their own reflection, that it would find its way into someone's psyche based on where the natural weak points were, so no one would have the same experience.
The woman died of thirst while soaking in a full tub for 3 days.
It's a piece of evil that turns your worst perceptions, fears, and insecurities back on you.
Clancy apparently weighed over 300 pounds. Later that year, Robert Clancy is photographed by a local newspaper, and he's dropped a few pounds.
Karen Gillan came in with 13 pages of monologue, essentially, that people were very concerned that this would be very boring. Do we need to shoot these stories and flash back to them and kind of show these horrific events? And the hope was that no, something that I have always believed is that a viewer's imagination is going to be able to come up with something way more effective and frightening than we can.
3, 2, 1.
The visual style of the short film was, kind of dictated to us again by our resources. When we had an opportunity to go into the feature world for it, we wanted something richer.
I hope this still hurts.
Within the horror genre, you're very used to seeing darkness, sometimes overboard. So for us, it was really about trying to make sure that before the mirror's influence was really truly felt, that the film could be as aesthetically beautiful as possible. By the time the mirror's darkness had physically taken over the space, we've come into this much cooler, much colder light palette. When it came to pacing, it was very important to me very early that this not be a movie that was a collection of jump scares. We wanted to go with something that was much more fluid. Even given our limited schedule, we had a few opportunities to come up with these very fluid Steadicam shots.
Marie is redirecting the movers who have the mirror to come back into the hallway this way. So we're going to step aside to let them get past us, carrying the giant mirror.
Hey guys, take it outside. But Mom! The alternative is moving boxes.
The first time we're introduced to the family as they move into the house, we had wanted to do in a single take.
Camera! Action!
Kind of lay the geography of the entire space, but also just to set up that sense that this was a movie that was going to glide through these stories.
The juxtaposition of the then on the now, it's incumbent upon us to really get that right.
Instead of presenting them as two separate entities that we were cutting back and forth between, we wanted them to just be two completely realized storylines that would eventually, in the third act, flow completely together so that there was no longer a difference between them.
You and your snot-nosed little brother over there are not to step foot outside of this house. Now get out of here.
The idea of parents turning against their children in a violent manner, we don't know how to process that kind of breakdown. So to try to process it through fiction and to try to allow us to meditate on these issues in a safer environment, there is a catharsis to that. Katee just really wanted to dive into the physicality of that, to become as threatening a presence in the movie as she could after she's kind of inhabited by the mirror.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
She would finish her workdays covered with bruises. She's throwing herself up and down stairs, snapping at the end of a chain. She had bruises all over her neck. She had kind of developed this very feline kind of parkour method of movement for the character. Katee created this just really fascinating monster for the second half of the film that is unlike anything that I had seen.
Mommy.
When it comes to the darkness of the ending, to the fact that the evil in this story is not overcome by our heroes. One of the things that I react very strongly to within horror fiction is when an omniscient and very powerful or ancient evil is, bested by a teenager because it had a bad day or something. It's not that there was something in me that wanted to say that evil always wins, because I don't believe that at all. I do believe that evil in the world is a force that is very difficult to beat, and it's an open question for me whether we're winning.
It was a mirror!
No, forget!
Timbo, we're gonna have to get really, really brave.
What I hope a viewer will come away from this movie with is not only that kind of entertaining experience you have in a good horror movie, but that we've gotten to think a little bit about the darkness inside of each one of us, and that inexpressible idea that maybe it's part of us, or maybe it comes from somewhere else.
This isn't you.
It is me.